Chapter 7, Rising Through the Ranks. Round 2, Quarterfinals. The second round matchup was posted. Zeno versus number 8, Rain, one of the twins who used water manipulation techniques. Zeno watched her warm up on an adjacent platform, small and lean, with the kind of build that relied on technique over strength. Water droplets seemed to cling to her skin even in the dry arena air. "I'm Rain," she said when they met at the platform edge before the match. "My brother Mist and I usually fight together, but tournament rules." She shrugged. "Can't use tag team in solo matches." "I'm sorry he lost." "Don't be. He'll learn from it." She studied Zeno with curious eyes. "I've never fought someone who uses pressure points. Should be interesting. Begin." Rain moved immediately, her hands weaving complex patterns. Water materialized from the humidity in the air, forming into whip-like tendrils that lashed toward Zeno. He dodged the first strike, but the water followed him, adapting to his movement. A tendril caught his leg, water moving with the force of a solid object. She could control its density. The water attacks kept him defensive, never letting him close the distance. Every time he tried to advance, another whip drove him back. She was using the weapon's reach perfectly, never letting him get close enough for pressure points to work. From the edge, he could hear Stone's voice in memory. "When you can't win on your terms, change the terms." Zeno stopped trying to close the distance and focused on movement. Not away from Rain, but in unpredictable patterns that made her strikes less accurate. Shadow had taught him how to be hard to track. After a dozen exchanges, Rain's attacks became slightly less precise as she struggled to predict his movement. That was the window. He feinted left, then broke right, finally closing the distance. Rain tried to create a water barrier, but Zeno was already inside her defense. His strike targeted the wrist, the pressure point that disrupted fine motor control. Rain's hand spasmed. The water constructs collapsed into puddles, but she wasn't done. With her other hand, she formed a crude water sphere and threw it at Zeno's face. He blocked, but the impact drove him backward, and Rain used the moment to create distance. "Clever," she said, shaking out her affected hand. The paralysis was already fading. "But I can fight with one hand if I have to." The battle continued, more cautious now. Rain protected her recovering hand while using the good one for attacks. Zeno pressed forward, looking for another opening. It came when Rain created 2 water whips simultaneously. The divided attention meant neither strike was as fast as it should be. Zeno went low, under both strikes, and reached her guard. 2 pressure points in rapid succession, the shoulder and neck, disrupting arm control and balance. Rain stumbled. Before she could recover, Zeno swept her legs, and she went down hard. He positioned to strike the knockout point at the base of her skull. "Yield," Rain called quickly. "Winner, number 16. Zeno helped her up. "Your water manipulation is impressive. I've never seen anything like it." "Keep winning," Rain said, rubbing her shoulder where the feeling was slowly returning. "I want to see how far you can go with that technique." Semifinals. The third match concluded with Brick winning through pure strength, another brutal display that left his opponent unconscious. The fourth match went to Kai, who demolished his opponent with defensive grappling so efficiently it looked effortless. 4 fighters remained: Zeno, Kai, Brick, and a girl named Vex, who used blood magic enhancement. The semi-final matchups were posted: Zeno versus Brick. "This is going to be rough," Senna said, finding Zeno in the rest area. "Brick's whole strategy is weathering whatever you throw at him, getting his hands on you, and crushing until you yield. Your pressure points won't work if you can't get close enough to use them." Then I collapsed the distance, Zeno said, though uncertainty gnawed at him. An hour later, he faced Brick across the platform. Up close, the size difference was intimidating. Brick was easily 6 inches taller and twice his weight, all muscle. The referee signaled. "Begin." Brick charged immediately, trying to close the distance before Zeno could establish a defensive position. Each step cracked the platform. When he swung, the air itself seemed to part. Zeno dodged the first strike, barely sensing the brewing intensity as Brick's massive arm blurred through the air. The force of Brick's might was a tidal wave crashing upon him, each movement purposeful and deliberate. Brick's calculated attacks, unlike number 3's predictable sequences, were an enigmatic symphony of compression and raw power that challenged Zeno's every instinct. Zeno tried a pressure point strike to Brick's leg. Perfect technique, exact placement. The effect was minimal. Brick's fighting style involved channeling strength throughout his body, and the pressure point disruption was absorbed almost immediately. This isn't working. The crowd was getting restless. Zeno was being driven backward, unable to mount an effective offense against pure defensive power. Zeno targeted Brick's elbow, striking not at the nerve but at a cluster of energy. The effect wasn't dramatic. Brick's arm stuttered slightly. Coordination disrupted just enough to throw off his timing. "You can't stop me, kid," Brick rumbled, swinging again. But now Zeno had an idea. He couldn't shut down Brick's system, but he could create tiny disruptions at each cluster. Each strike added a small delay, a minor coordination loss. The match dragged on for what felt like hours, each strike a testament to Zeno's determination. His focus never wavered, fueled by thoughts of Iris and the promise he made to himself. If he could overcome Brick, it would be one step closer to being strong enough to find her. The crowd was riveted, watching the tactical puzzle unfold. Zeno's strikes accumulating effect rather than immediate damage. He landed dozens of hits, none appearing to cause visible harm, but each weakening Brick's defense slightly, until, finally, Brick's leg gave out. Zeno swept the weakened leg, and the giant toppled. Before Brick could recover, Zeno targeted every energy cluster in rapid succession. Elbows, knees, neck, ankles. Not pain, just disruption layered on disruption. Brick tried to rise, but his body wouldn't respond correctly. "I yield," he said, frustration evident. "Winner, number 16. Zeno offered his hand. It took 3 tries to help Brick up, and the massive fighter stared at him with something like respect. "You found a way," Brick said simply. "No one's done that before." As Zeno descended from the platform, exhausted and shaking with adrenaline, he realized what he'd accomplished. He'd beaten a fighter who should have crushed him through pure defensive superiority. Not with power, but with adaptation. The official's voice echoed. "Finals tomorrow at noon. Rest and recover." Zeno had made it to the finals. Against Kai, who'd demolished every opponent with mechanical efficiency. From across the staging area, Kai caught his eye and gave a small nod. Acknowledgement between competitors who would soon face each other. Tomorrow would show Zeno exactly how far he still had to go.